In this tutorial, you're going to learn all about the exciting world of logic and gadgets. Wait, don't go away! It's a lot easier than it sounds, as you're about to see. Let's check out the scene. See the buttons on the platforms in front of our good friend Connie? Those activate the bridges that will take her to the next platform. At least, that's what they're supposed to do. To get them working, you'll need to connect them to the gadgets that control them. You can't see gadgets when you're in play mode, but they let you do all sorts of useful things in edit mode. You can tell gadgets apart by their colour and their icons. Green gadgets are sensors and inputs, and this one is what we call a trigger zone, which is one of the more versatile gadgets. It can trigger other gadgets when it detects something in the scene. In this case, Connie standing on the button. Hi, Connie. If you select the gadget with X, you'll be able to see its detection zone. That's it, right there over the button. Press circle to deselect the trigger zone, and let's look at the next gadget. Red gadgets are movers and outputs, which means they make things happen in the scene. This particular gadget is a rotator, and it's connected to the first bridge. Click R3 to play the scene, and let's see what it does. Well, not a lot right now by the looks of it. That's because the rotator is switched off. You can tell because the gadget is dim at the moment. But if we connect these two gadgets together, we can turn the rotator on using the trigger zone. In the next step, I'll show you how. Before we start connecting things, make sure you can see both gadgets. You'll notice they have ports sticking out of their sides. Ports on the left are inputs, and the ones on the right are outputs. Hover over the output port on the trigger zone now, and you'll see the word detected appear. That means that when the trigger zone detects something, this output will send a signal. Before it can send that signal to the rotator though, we'll need to connect them with a wire. So hover over the detected output and press R2 or X. You'll notice your IMP is now tethered to the ports by a wire, and power ports have appeared on the gadgets. It's these ports that switch gadgets on or off. OK then, drag the wire over to the red rotator gadget, and hover over the power ports at the bottom. Then press R2 or X. Once the gadgets are connected, the wire will disappear automatically. That way, your scene won't get cluttered. You don't want wires flying around all over the place. You can see the wire again by hovering over either gadget. Alright, time to test our connection out. So switch over to play mode in the options menu. That's more like it. Now the trigger zone detects Connie when she stands on the button and activates the rotator on the bridge. As soon as she steps off, the rotator stops working. So you can use the button to get the bridge lined up with the platform. Once Connie can make it to the second platform, you can head back to edit mode and move on to the next step. Now that we've connected the rotator, let's take a look at the second platform. See the white gadget on its side? But this gadget isn't a sensor or an output, it's called a microchip. Microchips are used to organise logic in scenes, so you can think of them as boxes of gadgets and wires. Let's have a look inside it. Hover over this one with your IMP, hold L1, then press X. It's just like scoping into a group of objects. This window is the microchip's canvas. And if these gadgets look familiar, it's because they're two rotators, with each one controlling one half of this jointed drawbridge. Try to connect the output from the trigger zone to the power ports on the rotators. You can create multiple wires from the same output. Or clone wires in the scene by holding L1, then grabbing them with R2. Clone the wire near the rotator to create a new wire from the trigger zone. Once you've connected the trigger zone to the second rotator, switch over to play mode and make sure it's all working. OK, jumping on the button now will activate the trigger zone and raise the drawbridge. So you can cross over the... Oh, wait a minute. The bridge has dropped before Connie could get across. That's because the trigger zone stopped sending the signal to the rotator as soon as Connie stepped off. Switch back to edit mode and rewind the scene with L3. And in the next step, I'll show you how to make signals stay on. Stepped off. Minute. Rotator to create a new wire from the trigger zone. Try to connect the output from the trigger zone to the power ports on the rotators. You can create multiple wires from the same output. Or clone wires in the scene by holding L1, then grabbing them with R2. Clone the wire near the rotator to create a new wire from the trigger zone. Once you've connected the trigger zone to the second rotator, switch over to play mode and make sure it's all working. OK, jumping on the button now will activate the trigger zone and raise the drawbridge. So you can cross over the... Oh, wait a minute. The bridge has dropped before Connie could get across. That's because the trigger zone stopped sending the signal to the rotator as soon as Connie stepped off. Switch back to edit mode and rewind the scene with L3. And in the next step, I'll show you how to make signals stay on. If we want the bridge to stay